Welcome to the Choose on Purpose podcast, where leaders live with intention. I'm your host, Becky Ploutz, and today I'm in the studio with Nancy Kelso. Yay! And if you're keeping track, Nancy's definitely been on the podcast. There's episodes. Type in her name, you'll find all the episodes um, that Nancy contributes to. And today's a very special episode. We are talking about her Muse experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, she
Yeah.
said. So, Nancy and I worked together on different levels for, I don't know, 6 years now.
Mhm.
And this is all about growth and evolution, legacy. It's all about Nancy and her identity and um, really releasing pressure to prove in order to be fully alive. And Nancy's an author. Actually, I'm going to read you her bio. Nancy Kelso, the real expert, knows that who you are is more important than any role you play, rule you break, responsibility you have, or reality you face. She's a peaceful presence in a chaotic world, using her real framework as a backdrop for real living. Nancy puts the who back in humanity, and we'll talk more about that. But then
Yeah.
there's episodes actually that already do give you some little breadcrumbs about this as well. So, Nancy, I want to say thank you for coming to the studio again to be on the podcast and sharing more about your journey and your growth and this experience. So, welcome.
Thank you. You are welcome, and I do feel welcome. And
Yeah.
this is wonderful. Yeah, wonderful to journey with you, Becky.
Oh, we're on this journey together for sure. I
Yes.
love this. Okay, so today's really about reflection.
Mhm.
We'll just start by saying that. Like, Nancy is all about reflection. That is the R in her real framework. And we reflect a lot. This is one of the
Yes.
pieces that I love about Nancy and the way that she's taught me is to really like the power that we have in our reflection and being able to look back so
Mhm.
that we're stronger as we move forward in who we are choosing to be and move forward, on purpose. So,
Yes,
how are you feeling
definitely.
coming in today? How are you
It's,
feeling? I just want to start with
it's funny.
that.
I feel
We're too professional right now.
we've done several podcasts together, but and I've always said they always just go so naturally. And
Yeah.
for some reason, I'm feeling a little more like, ooh, I feel a little more nervous around this one, probably because it's about, my I noticing more about who I am through boudoir photography, which is not something I've ever done before. This was my first experience with this. So, the reflection and making the connection to that seems like a little bit more of a stretch for me. Um, but I know that with your guided questions, it's probably all just going to be exactly the way it's meant to be. So let's just do it. Let's just do it.
I love it. And I have to say, like, I'm like bursting at the seams. And that's because, yeah, like I said, Nancy and I have known each other for 6 years. And I've been a empowerment boudoir photographer for this whole time. I've been a photographer for 15 years. And Nancy and others, Nancy's not alone in this, but, for so long. And when people would first meet me, and I wasn't as confident about the work that I was doing to like be loud and proud about, this is what it is, because I felt like I had to explain a lot. And this Muse experience that I've developed over these years is really to make it more of an easy transition for people to understand the power that comes from a process that is so much more than just the boudoir photos. And so Nancy
Yeah.
being here and being in the studio for that experience was like so surreal for me because like she said, she's never done this before. She was trusting me. We've built this relationship and just had the opportunity to like totally rock Nancy's world with like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm so scared and so excited. And like, let's just do it. And you heard her say it just now about the podcast. Like,
Yeah.
let's just do it.
Yeah, yeah. And what I
Growth.
love about that too is I'm thinking back and it was really even as much or as little as a year and a half ago, I was saying, "Oh, I would never do that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I would never do that. No, that's just not me. I would never do that." And something just clicked one day and I felt like, oh, this experience is gonna
I know what it was.
help me break through. You do? Did you remember? What was it?
Well, this is what I think it is. Okay,
Okay.
I won't claim to know
Okay.
because I'm not in your head.
Yeah.
But um one of the big things that I know is the day that you came to me saying that you thought this was a good idea for someone else. When I was talking about my passion and my excitement for combining the mindset work with the photography and helping women be seen and what they're thinking, and then also having their voice be heard on the podcast, and you like lit up and you're like, oh my gosh, she needs this and they need this. And I was like, you know what works better is when people know that like you've had that experience and you can speak to that. Like, not that it would be inauthentic for you to say, I think this would be great for you.
Yeah.
But it's so different when we have the experience and we say, I've had that experience. I know what that is. And I know this is going to be something that could really impact your life if you're open to it. So it was that switch of, and then literally that same day, you applied.
Yeah. I did. I
You're
did.
like, oh, shoot, you're right.
And I was telling the other person I was applying and that they should apply
Yeah.
too, and they never did.
No,
Yeah.
marketing there,
Yeah.
but
But that is
it's
interesting.
true.
I think the reason I thought about this other person is they're much younger than me.
Hmm.
And I was feeling like this is something I wish I had done when I was younger.
Hmm. That's
And
so real. So many
right,
people say that.
right. And so what clicked, I think, as part of that for me was, well, what am I waiting for? Right? Just because I'm no longer that age doesn't mean I can't still have the experience.
Hmm.
And so that was the first door that really opened for me in being open to the idea was that why do I think age is stopping me? And
Hmm.
just giving that some attention.
Yeah, that's a great awareness because again, that's something that so many women like they think of the boudoir side of my work and they're like, yeah, I don't have the body I had when I was young or before kids or before, this surgery or this accident or, life, living
Hmm.
life. And we as a society think about how, oh, we're out of our prime or we're out of, this era of our life and how we think what we can't do. And because you are someone that helps people expand their thinking, step out of their comfort zone, really challenge those thoughts. Like you were like, oh yeah, hey, me too.
Right.
Me too. I think that that's a good idea. And it helps that you've known me,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
trust the process, even if you didn't know what it was.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's so
Because you've
true.
helped me develop it so much over these months because this process, I don't know if I've said this on any of the other experience interviews, but it is a process. It's literally a 3-month journey,
Hmm.
because we intentionally have space between each of the coaching calls, the planning session for the photography day, and then the actual breakthrough day, and then now the podcast. Like there's gaps in there, to help process and move through this because it isn't just a photo shoot. It is all of these things in one that really helps you have a transformational like experience. And not that Nancy hasn't done work before this,
Yeah.
because this has been a adding on and just another level of that. So
Hmm.
anyway, thank you for sharing like really what was in your head about that. But I think that was like a really concrete moment when we think, oh, this is for someone else, it's not for me.
Hmm.
And then that
Hmm.
you challenge that thought for yourself to say, well, why not me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not now?
Hmm.
We can't dwell on the regrets of, oh, I didn't do that before. Well, you probably didn't know it was a thing then, or it wasn't a thing then.
Yeah,
So like,
true.
how can
That's
you
true.
take action on it now
That's
and
true.
just see what happens?
Yeah. Yep.
So I
Mm.
love that. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit more about before you stepped into applying and saying yes and having that moment.
Hmm.
Um, Tell us about the season of life that you were really in a couple months ago, I guess. A lot's happened.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and really still, of course, moving through this, but definitely a lot of transition in my life. And I like to use the word and because it's sort of like I was straddling two worlds.
Hmm.
And because I'm a nine on the Enneagram, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, Enneagram is the nine is one of the numbers that lives from the past.
Mm.
So I have a lot of energy around, ancestral history, not genealogy, but ancestry, and I'm very sentimental.
Mm.
Um, you know, Little things will trigger past experiences. Most of them happy, but not all. And
Mhm.
so I was straddling that line more than ever because I had just been through managing my family's estate, and letting go of our four-generation family farm. Um, I had 7 years ago left corporate and started my own business, and currently leaning more into retirement. Um, and I'll probably never fully retire because I love what I do so much, but my husband fully retired. And so now I have more time with him. So it was like this, we're wanting to make some new adventures. So it's like, okay, running my own business and more free time to have time with my husband and my family
Mhm.
again. Um, and so just a lot of transition, just, change in how I want to spend my time now. And I have two grandkids.
Mhm.
And with the third one on the way. So it's like I did that was an intentional move I made when my first grandchild was born 5 years ago, was that I would take one day a week to be with them.
Yeah.
And I've held steady to that, and it's been one of the best things I've done. So continuing that,
Mhm.
and tapping into more of who I am, and that's the work I do with others too. So it's like if I'm going to live real, so my book is Get Real, right? And if I'm going to be real and live real, I want to demonstrate how to use that process. And so like reflecting is a natural to me. I've always
Yeah.
been a reflector, like you said, but then, it is engaging with people like you, the community that we're in. The On Purpose with Purpose community has really been helpful for me to engage and really process some
Mhm.
of the thoughts and ideas I have. And then choosing, aligning is about choosing, well, what's really right for me. And leading, is then taking action and moving forward and living in your greatness. And so that I wanted to live that.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to you, if I'm going to be the real expert, I have to live it.
Yeah.
And one of the things you helped me see is that, well, I was, and I can even live that way more.
Mhm.
So
More
yeah,
intentionally.
yes.
And what I love about what you just shared too is that, you know, the grandkids and this uh, life is ever growing.
Mm,
Even if it isn't, I'm growing my business to this scale or something, right? Like you mentioned the retirement piece and like slowing down, but like
mm,
it's really about the intentionality. It's about what is your intention for what you want to do, how you want to impact people. Yeah, it matters because then it does affect how much time you get with those grandbabies, how much time you have to travel with your husband and do what you guys want now in this new season of life that is
mm-hmm,
more freeing as long as you allow it to be,
mm-hmm,
right? And like what does that look like? And like being open to those new things. And like how does that feel now? And like it's all new and exciting and so much growth just in life that you're now
mm-hmm.
getting to experience on a different level than just business, which you did before, but it's changing.
Right. Yeah. And, maybe it's what some people call balance. I don't know. I've never really felt out of balance, but I think
Mm.
I'm, there's in times of our life where the balance shifts a little bit. So, just because everything's not like in perfect balance, it can be balanced from a place of the amount of time you're putting into each area of your life,
Hmm.
and how satisfied you are with it. So I think just really seeing that because my life is changing, and this season will be different, being really intentional about, well, where how do I want to spend my time? What do I love doing and what can I let go of, even if it's just for a little while, or maybe I don't need it anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, if you can set it down and pick it back up. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay, so you mentioned letting go of your four-generation family farm. That's such a layered experience in itself. There's freedom, but there's grief, there's, all of that mixed in there. But
Mm.
what what was that process teaching you, would you say?
Ooh. I think the main thing that the process taught me is that letting go is opening another door. And I know I've heard people say this, so it's hard to articulate it because the feeling is deeper than just a door opening. It's like, um, it, I'm trying to think of a good analogy here, but I feel like when you hang on to something so tight because it's so important to you,
Mm.
which my family farm was that important just because there was so much love on that farm and it was um, just such a healthy, strong environment and just beautiful countryside. And, I ran free there as a child. And so, um, letting go of that was almost, it was sort of like carrying, how if you don't put the backpack all the way on and you got it over one shoulder.
You get a pain.
Yeah, it's heavier that way and it's
Hmm.
not as comfortable and you can't sustain it for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where I was sitting is the backpack was still on, but I wasn't carrying it in a way that was supporting where I was going.
Mm.
And it was just sort of weighing me down. And it was really my siblings who helped me realize that it would be really hard to sustain this type of family farm in today's age without a lot of, support.
Hmm.
So, and money. I mean, I would have had to invest in rebuilding it basically.
Right.
So when you let something like that go, it feels because it's almost heavier than if you had the backpack on the whole way, right?
Right.
If I'd
It's like
committed the whole
evenly
way.
distributed is what I think
Yeah,
about, you
yeah.
know?
So it wasn't, but then it felt like what I let go of was even more important to me because I had
Mm.
been, lugging it with
Trying
me,
so hard.
right? That it was a bigger miss almost because
Mm.
it wasn't that heavy. But then within a very short period of time, it was almost like, oh, thank God I finally put that down. And um, I don't have to pick it up again.
Hmm.
Was the real thing is that
Mm.
like it took me about a week to feel like maybe even longer. It was probably longer than that to feel that relief of I don't have to pick it back up.
Hmm. You get to stretch that out a little
Mm.
bit, you get to feel a little bit more of the freedom that comes along with letting something go that we don't always know is heavy or causing a pain of some kind like that. I love the backpack idea of because I just think about how it's evenly distributed and it's just so much we're more flowy, we have more freedom to like pick other things up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I like that you say that it's about the support of it
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
then you are able to like take more on
Yeah.
and it's sustainable. I love that you use the word sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because there's so many times in our life where we think, okay, well, I'm doing this thing and it's only going to be a certain amount of time so I can push through it and deal with it and I'll deal with the repercussions later kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting to me because then my husband and I had built our family home 30 years ago on a part of the family property.
Yeah.
So after selling the farm, we still had our 6 acres of the family property. And we just recently sold that, which I never thought I would do,
Yeah.
right? Again, a huge shift but that was some of what came through this journey is there was more for me. There's more
Hmm.
for me ahead. But even signing those papers, what felt heavy was that I was letting go of the last 6 acres of my family farm.
Mm,
Not that I was letting go of 30 years of my family home where I raised my boys. So I found that really interesting
yeah.
that it was still attached. That backpack was still attached in some way.
Mm.
And now it's like totally gone. And the new adventures can come and are coming. Um, and yeah, just a lot more freedom and space to be in nature, which is something that's really important to me.
Mm.
Hmm.
I love that. I even think I now think about the backpacks that click
Yeah.
and like you're tied into it. So even like going through the process of starting to sell the family farm unclicked,
Hmm.
then it's like, okay, then it was the battles to actually complete that transaction. Now it's off the one shoulder.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, your last piece of your home that you had still on part of the property, that was very personal to you specifically, that was the
Hmm.
whole backpack.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
great visual of the weight,
Yes.
emotional processing weight of letting go of the things that um, have really helped us be more of who we are. And yeah, that's what a gift to be able to like see it that way too and not feel
Hmm.
regret or, really give yourself the opportunity to process
Yeah.
how that was going.
And it's so the thing is too, and it's been pretty recent that we, sold our home. But the thing is that other than that moment or a few moments when we were walking around the property and I was saying goodbye and everything, I um I didn't feel it didn't feel painful to me
Hmm.
or a tiny bit sad, but I was more excited about what was coming than what I was leaving behind. And I think that's interesting too to know. I think that's hope, right? That's hope and that's anticipation and that's joy is, knowing that, and it was a knowing that there's something different waiting for me, not necessarily more or better, just different.
I just think about how, and I like that you're distinguishing those pieces, right? Not more, not better, but different. Because, I mean, if you're taking notes or paying attention to this, uh, all of those changes on top of your husband retiring from his long-standing
Hmm.
position,
Hmm.
um, you're selling your 30-year home, and completing this whole process all at the same time.
Hmm. And it wasn't just the sale of the home and my 30-year history there. We also downsized from about 2,000, a little over 2,000 square foot house to under 1,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and literally, yeah, it was sort of like it's almost like we were forcing all this transition. And I think my husband says it best when he says, we both need a change. And speaking from somebody who had been in his place of employment for 43 years, he worked for the same company his entire career.
Wow.
43 years, he really
He was
needed a
ready.
change and he's never experienced a real major change. Um,
Hmm.
you know, yeah. So it is a lot happening to adjust to being around each other a little bit more in a much
Hmm.
smaller space
Yeah.
with unsure of really, like, we don't even know what our budget is right now because we're
Hmm.
just like, wait, we don't have to pay for that anymore. Oh, but then we have to think about this. And, you know, so it's just, yeah, a lot of,
Navigating a
yeah,
whole new way of really living
yes, yes.
and together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, okay, so I'm the type of person that is like, if I'm going to change something, I want to see the change. I want to feel it. I want to know that there is change. And like, talk about next level. Talk about next level. Like, okay, so wrapping this kind of piece up, but just thinking about like, and the question I want to ask is like, how does that feel? Does it feel like what does it feel? More peaceful? Like letting go of that much stuff at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2000 to 1000, like a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Huge capacity change of things. And I know that everything is energy. So even just that thought of like downsizing to release so many objects in my
Mm-hmm.
environment would change me in itself. But then add on the emotional layers of the places, the environments to which the things are in. Like what would you say if feeling is around that? Because I know feeling has been more of your tapping into.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I've been paying attention to what I'm feeling, and processing it when I'm feeling it instead of holding it and blowing up, which is what I
Yeah.
used to do. So something that's really interesting is you asked that question that I think is leading us to maybe a place that we're going to go is, um, what it feels like. And even as I'm sitting here, I can still, like, as you were saying it, it's a tension. And
Mhm.
I tend to hold on tight to things. So that's thus, letting go of the four generation family farm. It's like, but that's a part of me. Like I can't let that go, and um my kids, and I want them to have the kind of life I had, and what if they don't, and right? And what if they don't feel the way I felt? Well, they're not going to, Nancy, they're different people. But so even as you were saying it, I could feel the tension in my body. And one of the things, as you're saying that, I really want to pay attention to now that I have released some of that, is how can I also, my body has not adjusted to putting all that down yet. So I'm and I ten and I am a very tense person. Like even when I'm driving, people will drive by and they're like, "You didn't even see me because you were like so on the steering wheel." And I'm like, "Oh, I was." Like I don't feel like I am, but I am just I hold things very close. And um yeah, and so I think there's a tenseness. And one of the things I think that this experience has done for me is to allow myself to not just be more relaxed, but it's more about that knowing. Like I know there's adventures ahead. I know there's going to be some sort of trial ahead too, right? Because that's life. But I also know more who I am. I know what I love and how I want to spend my time. And so when I feel that tension, to be aware of it, that's something that's no longer mine to carry.
Mm.
Um, and so I think what letting go of the farm did was let me know that that wasn't mine to carry anymore.
Mm.
But it took me that period of time to see that. That was, and I think at one point I even said to you, you know, that was my dad's legacy. And I was holding on to my dad and who he was, and why I'm the way I am is because I am a lot like my dad, right? So I was
Mhm.
holding on to that. And instead of holding on to who I'm meant to be, and where I can where I can go and live in my legacy. I talk about that a lot. Like, let's
Mhm.
not leave a legacy. Let's live in our legacy. Let's be what we want people to know about us.
Mhm. Absolutely. Okay, and this is a great opportunity in case anyone that's listening doesn't know. Can you talk about your first book? Because that's a huge,
Mm.
like it ties in perfectly with everything we've been talking about with your family farm, um, about your first book.
Yeah. Oh, and interesting on letting go, right? So my first book, it's called Acres of Life, and it's about growing up on my family farm. And it's about lessons that I learned growing up about the hard work on a farm and just really good work ethic and love and caring for, um, our earth, and each other. Um, and that was the reason I felt called to write that book was because I felt like there were stories that had been told in our family that were starting to dissipate and nobody could share the details. And I wanted to get those captured so that they could go for generations. Again, I love the past, so I want future
Hmm.
generations to know about some of these stories. And but it was also my way of healing from losing my dad.
Hmm.
And really everything that left when he left, which is, you know, what that farm was, because that's where he grew up. You
Hmm.
know, it was his grandparents and great grandparents that originally owned that space. So that was a Xander legacy. And um whew, like just what came to me is, I'm no longer a Xander. And I
Hmm.
mean that in the,
Hmm.
more literal way, right? I took a new name. I'm a Kelso, but I am creating a legacy where Xander has become Kelso.
Hmm.
And I have a tattoo on my leg that right now I just, it's a lowercase z that then goes into a capital K from Xander to Kelso. And I'm just all of a sudden making this connection that, that's part of my legacy
Hmm.
and living in what's meant for me instead of living in what my dad gave to me.
Hmm.
Like, how do I carry that on in my legacy? Pretty cool. Yeah.
Wow.
Becky always gets to something like I make a connection, like just goes further inside every time. And that's what I think the Muse experience is about,
Yeah.
right? It's like allowing yourself to see yourself in a new way.
Hmm.
Um,
In a deeper way, like you said, deeper down,
mhm.
in further. I love that. I love the and thinking about, and it's funny that you brought up Xander because I was thinking the exact same thing right before you said it was, but you're a Kelso. Like I had that same thought, and then you said, I was like, oh, okay, there we're going.
Yeah.
So that's so cool.
Uh-huh.
To think about your tattoo also and the connection. Yeah, thanks for breaking through that right now live on the podcast. So
Yeah.
fun.
And okay, now as I even go further with that, I'm thinking, and we have my husband and I have two boys. So
Mm-hmm.
they are carrying on the Kelso name. And my oldest grandchild is a boy. So he will carry on the Kelso name.
Mm.
So Kelso is, creating like that's the legacy. And I've always said this to my boys is, know that everything you do has an impact on
Mm.
our name, on our namesake.
Yeah.
And what do you want that to be generations from now?
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Hmm.
So good. Okay, so let's move
Hmm.
into talking about that saying yes before you're ready energy.
Oh.
Okay. So that's I mean, this is everything, right? Even thinking about the big things that you're sharing about transition in life, like deciding to move, deciding to downsize,
Hmm.
deciding to retire, deciding to change big things in our life. And then there's micro things on the day to day that we're continuing to say yes to and figuring out and being okay with the unknown, versus what you've been talking about, which is really that knowing feeling.
Hmm.
So this expansion, um, before we're certain and before we clearly know, but trusting, which I know is your word this year.
Yes, you do.
So we're going to dive
Yeah.
into that a little bit and that
Hmm.
trust. So you said yes because you wanted to explore, seeing yourself differently or new. And so, what did you hope this experience might unlock for you?
Um, I'll be honest that when I first said yes, I don't know that I had a hope. I mean, I might have deep down, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I connected to that. What I connected to was the energy. And
Mm,
one thing I know about change is that most people don't want to change. Like we stay in our comfort zone.
hmm
But once we start to see the positive impact that comes from change, it's almost like that energy feeds into more energy. And I am kind of a creature of habit. I always have been,
hmm
grow up. That's the family farm. Oh, live
Right.
on the family farm. Oh, I worked for the same company for 26 years until somebody else made the decision that I could no longer work there. I thought I would
Mm,
retire there. So I am a very, I'm a creature of habit. I really am. And so my change experience, yeah, there was change at work, but I was part of change management at work even, right? So to
yeah,
me, that was what I did. It wasn't a change for me because I was helping other people navigate change. So that was part of my identity, right? But then experiencing change yourself and allowing it. And so I think what was happening is there was all this energy at the same time, all this change energy at the same time, you
Mm.
know, and okay, yeah, just got done selling the family farm, we had bought some hunting property. Then my husband was gonna retire, not until he was 65, but now he's not even 62 yet. And all of a sudden we just kept backing up the
Just
date. And
accelerating.
right. And so pretty much it was like one thing was just leading to another. And
hmm
that energy was fueling me to just like to go on that change train. Like
Mm.
it's time to change. Yeah. Yeah.
All aboard.
Yeah, all aboard. And so I think
Mm.
that momentum was a big part of it.
Yeah.
What so the experience itself, what really changed for me, and maybe this was my hope deep down, is that change wouldn't feel so awkward going forward.
Mm.
That um if I add in an awkward thing, and all of it was uncomfortable in its own way,
Yeah.
but still everything is pretty peachy keen in my life. I mean, I hate to say it, but I do have a good life.
Oh, we
And
love to say that.
yeah,
We'd
yeah,
be proud to have good life.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And, there, sure, I've had, my loss and, sickness and those things, but, um, a lot of my life has just been really full of love and joy.
Yeah.
And I also make it that way,
That's right.
you know. So for me, this was about you've made some changes already, Nancy, that you've not seen as changes, like taking a day off every week to be with your grandchildren.
Yeah.
That I was so passionate about being with my grandchildren that change of giving up a day, you just figure it out.
hmm
So, what's a change that's going to, sometimes you just have to do it and figure it out, which I
Yeah.
think is one of the things I said to you is like, what do people need to know about being ready for this?
hmm
It's you don't need to be ready. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the
Be
biggest thing.
willing.
Yeah, be willing to just, yeah, you're not going to, you might never be ready.
It's true.
And I think that's what life really is about. We grow the most when we're not ready and we do it anyhow.
hmm and trust, and the trust that comes along with that is that you'll figure it out or
Yeah,
that you'll learn,
yeah.
in the process. And another thing that we didn't say that I know is another big milestone. How many years have you been married?
Woo! 41.
41 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, like all of this change, all of this progress, also in that, like to know, like, creature of habit, but also steady in what you know is strong in your life. And, continuing that momentum and surrendering to the process to just say, like, I'm going to figure all these things out with this experience, with work, with the grandkids, with transition of where you're living, how you're living,
Yeah.
um, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that consistency does not mean um, mundane,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
And I think people are routine necessarily because there's still a lot of change. There is a lot of
Hmm.
change in navigating a relationship long term.
Oh
And
yeah.
um, of course, like everybody does, have times when you're thinking, why are we together? What is this about? Or, oh my gosh, but that's also part of what's made our relationship stronger.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Hmm. Well, and like you said, now you're navigating being together a lot more,
right,
right?
right.
Than when he would go to work every day, you'd be
Yeah.
your clients, and and now in a smaller space
Mm-hmm.
physically as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So closer in a lot of ways,
Yes. Yeah.
and refiguring those things out and like coming together as who you are now. And
And I think being reminded, I think you're right, who we are now, but who we've always been,
yeah,
but what life sucks out of you along the
those
way.
roles maybe,
Yeah.
those
Yep.
rules, those.
Yep. The roles, the responsibilities, right? That's
Hmm.
not who we are.
Right.
But that's how we spent our time.
Yeah.
And so we begin to take on that facade of that is who we are, but really deep
We
down,
gotta dig for
yeah.
that gem,
Yeah.
Nancy. We gotta
Yeah.
dig for
Yes,
that
we
gem.
do.
Be willing to find that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so was there a part of you that was nervous about stepping into this?
A tiny bit. I think
Okay.
this is the other thing for me is like once I know, like I know this was going to be good for me to try, you know, then I was a little like, ooh, not sure I want to put on some of those outfits, right?
Ooh.
And of course Becky loved that because she's like, oh, she's gonna look so good in this. And I'd be like, I am, like, but I think that was another thing is accepting that. Um, my body can look good in a variety of ways. I tend to dress a little more comfy,
Hmm.
instead of, you know, I don't want to say skimpy, but that's not even really the word,
No.
but just I'm a more comfortable. I like my baggy jeans and a t-shirt untucked,
Hmm.
And so just being open to, okay, you're gonna cinch me up in the back, and there I am, right? Oh, look, I do have a
Show
little
off
bit
that
of,
little waist.
yeah. And I do have a little bit of cleavage. Oh, well, there it is. Um,
Yeah.
and all the things you tell yourself about your body
Hmm.
that really are myths.
Yeah.
Real, and I think that's the biggest thing I saw is like, um, when you look in a mirror and you see some body parts that you don't really like, they're not how other people see them almost always, and with taking care of your body and putting on things that feel good to you, you look different because you feel good in
Hmm.
your own skin and what you're putting on, right? So trying on some things that you wouldn't normally wear just for that's a change. Even if
Hmm.
all you do is go to a store and try on some outfits that you would not normally wear, you're going
Hmm.
to see things like that. Oh, I might actually like a little bit lower cut dress, or my husband might really
Or a
like a
different
lower cut
color,
dress.
or
Yeah, or a different color.
I'd be like,
Right,
I would
right.
never do that. Like, I even think about for myself and like going from wearing all black to like pink tones or greens and like color in my life, and how I just started to also be open to,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you got to lose to try these aren't big life-shattering things like a new house or, like these smaller things that really add up to having the courage to do the bigger things in our life.
Yeah. Yes.
Having hard conversations and like standing in our power and our confidence to know, like, okay, this is uncharted territory,
Mm-hmm.
and experiences like this help us build that strength for these big transitions in our life that we don't really know how to navigate either,
Mm-hmm.
but we're figuring it out.
Right. Yeah.
So be willing to put that outfit on and just try it. I love that you bring up the outfits because that's always
Mm-hmm.
a big part, of the insecurities that women have and the questioning, the doubt that goes on in all of our heads.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an opportunity to challenge them and just say, well, if you hate it, who cares? Like, we'll just
Right.
delete.
Yeah. Yeah, that is right. There is value in that. Just try it. Yeah,
Hmm.
just try it. Mhm. And
Yeah.
that's I think our whole life is just one big practice.
Trial run.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think, like I like that you said like once you committed, you fully allowed yourself to have this experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's the surrender part, and that's what's the powerful part about it is that um you you give yourself the opportunity to then be more present in it
Yeah.
and be willing to just be like, I'm just going to play in this and see what happens to saying the things that come to my mind or sharing these opportunities with Becky, like what's going on in my head about it, and like quieting those thoughts to just say, oh yeah, that sounds silly now, or that
Mm-hmm.
seems,
Mm-hmm.
not as big anymore, and the willingness to try the new thing. So thinking about that, like what did it feel like to stop over controlling the outcome of like what was going to happen? Like it sounds like you were very much like just open to the process and trusting in that, but like from your perspective, what did that feel like to just like not control any of it and just be willing to do that?
Yeah. Um, it was very free. Like I even remember, that morning driving up to the studio and getting out of the car. And first I grounded myself. I wanted to put my feet in the grass and
Oh yeah.
and so I was also, yeah, I
My
was,
favorite patch of
yeah,
grass. I
yeah,
shared it with Nancy. I have a favorite patch of grass in my yard. And she's like, I gotta get my shoes off. Beck, where is your favorite patch of grass? I gotta get there.
yeah,
That was so fun.
yeah.
I forgot about that.
But my intention was to really to be present and to
Yeah.
really like enjoy it.
Hmm.
And you are very good at doing that. Like just well, just here's the outfits. Just look at them and set the ones that you say no, just set them over here, and the ones that you're like, yeah, I'd like to
Maybe.
try that one, or maybe over here. And then I did that, and then I said, well, I don't know, like, yeah, there were a couple I just, and you were like, okay, I'm just going to tell you that one looks really good on, and I think it's going to be amazing on you. I think you should try it. And then I was like, okay, then I'm going to try it, right? So having your professional direction on that really helped me to just even be surrender more. Like
Hmm.
if you had just said, okay, you don't like those, that's fine. Which I know you wouldn't do,
Yeah. I mean, we
but
can't. If
yeah.
we're if people are coming for an experience that is intentionally to help grow and expand like what's happening in life, like we have to have the courage to say, and
Mm.
I can't force you to wear it, right?
Right,
Like we
right.
can just say it as coaches, like
Yeah.
we give suggestions, we give insights, we share feedback, and from experience, I was sharing like, hey, I just want you to know, like when people do try this on and they're willing to just give it a shot and just take a peek, it surprises people and it can
Yeah.
surprise you. And then you have the
Yeah.
opportunity to make the choice based on a recommendation. And some people would think, "Oh, I could never do that because that seems pushy or, overstepping." But like when it is your purpose, like I am here to do this. So
Mm-hmm.
like I feel confident telling my clients, like, it might be something to consider because from experience, I know that this is something that can be beneficial. And if it's not, no problem. Like we can
Right.
delete it, we can keep moving. It's not a big pressure thing. It is about just sharing and then giving people an option because you don't know.
Right.
You've never done this.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, my clients are not versed in lingerie or outfits that they would just like never even consider. And that's
Mm-hmm.
part of the fun, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. That is part of, yeah, I think you're right. And just playing. Like it became more playful
Hmm.
than like I have to make a decision. I think
Oh,
that's what, I think that was some of it too. And that was part
yeah.
of surrendering to the experience. Like, let's just play. Let's
Hmm.
just, and I can't imagine what you do with like, I have very short hair. There's no way to arrange my hair. But, if you've got long hair, I could see it like, ooh, let's try your hair over this side or, put it up on top of your head and hold it there or whatever. And I could just see, the different looks that you get. I mean, you had different looks from me that I thought, oh, where's that girl? Right? So I think that that's what made it really the experience was,
Hmm.
having fun and stretching a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Mm-hmm.
outside that comfort zone, outside what's familiar to you,
Mm-hmm.
and and literally outside stretching.
Yeah. Yes.
What I love, oh, okay, so this is just a little tangent to say, like, even at the end, I loved it. You were like, I think we need a little bit more in this. Like, we extended what we were doing
Yes.
because you were like, oh, we need a couple more in like this one. And like just that willingness opening up and seeing that blossom with just the different options of like what you bring to incorporate what I have as options, and the willingness to just keep doing that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it makes the whole experience personalized and yeah, more flexible and flowy and willing to just like go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
was there a moment during your reveal? So, for those of you that don't know, we do a same day reveal. So, my clients leave or hang out with me, whatever they choose to do, while I go through the images and get a gallery of the best images ready for them to see and experience in the studio. So, Nancy, like for your reveal, was there a moment during your reveal where you saw yourself differently that you can like recall?
Um, I know I had some reactions to some of the pictures.
Hmm.
Um, And, at one point I was really like, oh, I do have some cleavage. Like, that doesn't look too bad, because I'm very small chested. But I think trying to think, ask me the question again,
Yeah,
because it was
so
specific. Yeah.
was there a moment during the reveal where you saw yourself differently? Or that you had like a different thought about it, whether
Yeah,
it's the outfit or the pose or the energy?
I think overall what I felt was, oh, I am kind of sexy.
Yeah.
And
I remember
and
you
I'm
saying
not,
that.
yeah, yeah. And I remember thinking, because that's not, I mean, my husband and I have a great relationship. Romance is not his thing. So like
Yeah.
he's always said to me, I don't care what you have, like I don't,
Yeah.
he doesn't need any of that stuff.
Hmm.
Yet I feel good
Right.
in it. Right. So I think that was a big aha for me, is like, don't forget that just because that might not be his thing. It
Hmm.
might be my thing.
Yeah.
It might be like something that's helpful to me in relating more with him,
Mm.
you know? And it's not that he doesn't, if I'm wearing it, he's fine with that, but he doesn't need me to. Well,
Right.
okay. Well, if it makes me feel better, why wouldn't I?
Yeah. And he would want that. He would want you to
Right.
feel better.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that really kind of surprised me a little bit, like, oh, like I am actually kind of, because after you've been married 41 years, you really a lot of times you're not like that like little teasing, playful, sexy stuff
Yeah.
very often,
Right.
or as often as you
Hmm.
are when you're
Well, because you
courting or
probably get
dating
comfortable
or yeah,
too
yeah,
with that understanding. Like, I don't have to do, like, put the
yeah.
effort or the energy in that. But then I love what you're saying is like bringing it back to it's for you.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, like, it's a bonus for him.
Yeah, right.
It's a bonus.
Yeah.
And really, the bonus is that you're going to feel better, which is going to emanate in your relationships.
Right. Right.
Like, when we feel better, we do better and we act better and we're nicer and we're more
Yeah.
pleasant. And like,
Yeah.
who doesn't want that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. So
So
I think that's
it's
what
for
really
you.
struck me the most is
Yeah.
like, oh, like there's that sexy side
Hmm.
again, right? Like, where did that go? Yeah.
Perfect timing for retirement.
Yeah, right. Now we're gonna spice things up.
I love that. Okay, so what do you think women miss out on when they spend their lives overthinking
Mhm.
how they're being perceived, right? That outside opinion.
Oh, I spent enough years doing that, and I still do because we're human, right? We will
Yeah.
do that.
Challenge and
But
everything.
yeah, but I'm less time in it because I'm so aware of it now, and
Yeah.
I think what we miss out on is joy. We miss out on joy and just loving our lives, and it sucks joy right out of us
Hmm.
because we're not meant to be like anybody else. We're not meant to look perfect, be perfect. Um, and we all have our own beautiful gifts. And when we stifle that, the joy just goes away.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I know that, right, that's true that when we stifle that, we're also taking away from the people in our lives that could receive
Yeah.
from us being more joyful. It
Mm-hmm.
goes back to that, like us taking care of our own mental health and what we know will be for us, how it's not selfish, it is selfless to do
Mm-hmm.
those things that I mean, they ripple out and they support the relationships in our life, the impact that we're making when we're not overthinking it and shrinking who we truly are um, because we're thinking about what other people might be judging about us or
And
their perception.
I think one of the things that, and I don't know if this could be with age, we learn this. It could just, I do know some people who are much younger than me who seem to have this figured out long before I ever did. But just this idea that in the bigger picture, in the vast scheme of things, most of what we do doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. You do matter.
Yes.
You make a difference. However, 100 years from now, that's not what's going to matter. What's going to matter is what you gave to other people by being who you were.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it, most of, I always say, oh, I want to have like this profound message. Someday I'm gonna have this profound message, and I
Yeah.
want people to know me for that. And then I think, but 100 years from now, they're probably not going to. I mean, there are certain things that carry on. The Bible is one of them, you know. For
Hmm.
over 2,000 years and longer, we've had those words of wisdom. And if you just think about just that, there's not, there's a few books that are centuries old, right? That people
Tried and
still
true.
read
Yep.
today. Yeah, yeah. But most of us are trying to still learn about those principles that will help us really live in pure joy by service and when I say service, service to others and ourselves
Yeah.
by really being who we are,
Hmm.
because that's service to other people.
It is. Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And if we're trying to be someone we're not, then like we're just wasting time on how we can serve an impact on a level that we're meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really what happens in most relationships, why a lot of relationships fail is because we don't love ourselves.
Hmm.
And because you're not being who you're meant to be. And for some reason, you don't feel like you can be that person with this other person or
Yeah.
at this job or whatever it is. But we can. We can learn how to be ourselves in situations where we feel like we're not supposed to be.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think there's opportunities there for all of it.
Hmm. Yeah. And speaking of living, I'm going to move into the living real.
Mm,
So one of my favorite things that you had wrote in your I don't know, your forum about what we wanted to talk about today
mhm,
was see yourself, be yourself, live real.
mm.
What does the living real mean to you now?
Um,
I could ask you this
oh,
question every time you're on the
I
podcast
know
because
because
it
it's
evolves.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's always so fun. So like right now,
Yeah,
what's
so
living
right
real?
now what I feel like living real is yes, being yourself in all ways, places, wherever you're at. Not trying to fit in, not trying to belong, just show up and be yourself. And most importantly, know that the raw parts of you
Mm.
are part of who you are. And I think for a long time, I spent talking about, get real, reflect, engage, align, and lead. And like, that's a great process. And yes, it does help you live more real. But part of aligning with yourself, part of engaging is going to those raw parts, the
Yeah.
things that have hurt, the experiences that have shaped you, and understanding how they can serve you
Mm.
and your growth, and that how that painful point was part of who you are. So that does shape how you show up.
Hmm.
And um, so just putting that all to work and knowing that when the raw parts, as you heal from the raw parts, they will become embedded in how you show up in a
Mm.
way that's serving yourself and others.
Hmm. Oh, I like those words, embedded, and it's really
Mhm.
deep to like consider the impact and the change that occurs when we do our own
Yeah.
work.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's why I love the real framework because it's not a cycle. It's not
Hmm.
like go here, then go there. No, sometimes I need to be engaging more, engaging with my feelings, talking to somebody, engaging with a movie, like even watching a movie and
Mm.
asking yourself some questions. I just watched Inside Out for the first time and I'm like, whoa, like that is so much deeper than it seems on the surface, right? And so
Yeah.
it made me really ask myself some questions about where are all those feelings going when I'm plugging them up.
Hmm.
When I stop them from movement, when I stifle them and, take them down that river or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
yeah. Um, and so just like that's engaging. Sometimes you need more of that. You just got to sit in it and engage. Sometimes it's reflecting to know what you have to engage on. Sometimes it's about taking action. Like, okay, come on.
Hmm.
We're not going anywhere if we don't take a step,
Hmm.
and yeah. And then it's most importantly taking steps that are aligned with who you are. And if you don't know, then take a step to find out if it's aligned.
Hmm.
That's okay. Like you don't always have to know that it's aligned. What you have to pay attention to is how it feels when you take the action. And it might not be aligned today, but it might be next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, that's just a big part of, seeing ourselves and allowing ourselves to do it is being willing to um like you said, kind of challenge, like, oh, now I'm thinking about that for myself. And now I see that. And now I'm like, okay, what is that? Do the work, journal on it, talk to someone, like you said, and like take an action step so that it doesn't just sit there and get heavy like the backpack, and going all back to all of that. So, what do you hope women that are listening
Mm.
give themselves permission to release then?
I'm trying to say this without saying something cliche, right?
Good
Like,
luck.
but is
No.
that right? Yeah. But I mean, I think it's that judgment because even when I was thinking about the see
Mm,
yourself, be yourself, live real, right? What being ourselves, often what I hear women do is they say, and sometimes men too, we do this like,
yeah.
well, I'm just being myself. And if people don't like that, then they can, they don't have to be around me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is right there a defensive statement that's telling yourself you're not being yourself
Mm,
because there's
true.
something about it that you are finding hard. So that is telling you, whoa, like what does, to reflect on that and to go, to a place of if whenever you have to defend, I think you're in a place of really questioning who you are.
Yeah,
And so if
that's
women
true.
could really listen to the messages they say to themselves or tell others about who they are,
Mm,
and then ask themselves, is that true? Is that really what it is, or is there something I'm missing? And
hmm
that's the ongoing work. That's the ongoing work. I'm sure, I'll listen to this podcast and I'll think, whoa, wait, what do I want to spend more time with for myself?
hmm Well, I love that you even say that because that's what I was thinking too, is in this process with the
Mm,
mindset coaching and everything, I
mm,
record those for your benefit as the
hmm
person that's like, I'm breaking through these thoughts. I'm having these new connection points about the past and my journey and where it's brought me right now in this present moment. And there's so much that kind of flows out that we're not present for those breakthroughs.
hmm
And there's so much power in giving my clients the opportunity to hear themselves and see themselves through that recording, if they choose to take that journey, to actually be with their own voice, be
mm,
with their own presence of like, oh, whoa, what was that? What is that? And be curious, like
yeah.
genuinely just showing up with compassion and curiosity for yourself. That is work in itself that I think so many more people could use to support the evolution of who they are becoming
hmm Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a tool.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and think of the number of times in our 6 years we've known each other, the books that we've read together,
Mm-hmm.
remembering wholeness, and then really exploring that, the Bible recap, and asking ourselves deep questions about what we're learning. We did the Get Real book together.
Yep.
That's my book, right? And
Mm-hmm.
boy, what I didn't learn about myself in doing my own book club. I've done my book club 2 times, and both times I'm getting closer to really what it is mine, right? And really how I want to show up too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, do the book club. The book club could be part of the Muse experience,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's uncovering really like understanding more about who we are and uncovering those layers.
Mm-hmm.
So, same work, different avenues,
Yes.
different facets of like how it happens and how we continue to evolve and see ourselves and continue to grow in the work that we do that is, growth journey,
Yeah. Yeah. The
ever changing.
photography part is engaging with yourself, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
engaging. That's like you're noticing how you feel. And you even ask, how are you
Mm-hmm.
feeling right now? What's showing, what's going on over there, and I think that is really helpful.
Showing you
These,
pictures along the way, being like, what do
yes.
you think? Like, what are
Yeah.
you thinking about? And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't really like this. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We can do a
Yeah.
little something different,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
getting the
Absolutely.
pulse on it along the way. And I think that's really important around
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're, focused on how you're growing. But
Mm-hmm.
those checkpoints to kind of check in and see like what's going on.
Yes, absolutely. Mm. So,
Okay, so we're beginning to wrap up here. What would you say to the women listening who know that they're craving something deeper, but they keep waiting until they feel quote unquote ready? What would you say to her?
I think I kind of alluded to this earlier that it's not about being ready. In fact, it's never about being ready. When I think back in my life, if I think of the times I tried to wait until I was ready, I still wasn't ready
Mm,
when I did it because we can't prepare for how we're going to experience something because it is an experience. So allow yourself to experience it, knowing that the experience is what's going to get you ready for what's
mm,
next in your life.
yeah, I love that. And there's a line that I even have on here that just ties that up perfectly, which is feeling ready is not a prerequisite.
Yeah. Yes.
it is a result
Yes.
of taking confidence in action, doing
Yes.
the thing is how we are quote unquote ready.
Yeah. Yes.
So I love that. Okay, this conversation has just reminded me of all the beautiful reasons that I'm blessed to have women like you
Mm.
to say, I am trusting this process. I am willing to, experience this with you and know that, we're going to go on this journey and it's going to be fun and challenging. And I'm willing to do that. So, thank you for always believing in me in the process and being willing to do something that, like, even a year ago, you would be like, what? No.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about, like helping women just step outside of what we think about ourselves, about a process that we don't know anything about, but we're willing to experience a little bit to just see what's there and see what's there. And thank you for being a
Yeah.
product of that and someone that is like willing to just keep growing.
You're welcome. And yes, and more. Right?
Yes,
We're
and
just getting
more.
started.
We are just getting started. So, I want to just encourage our listeners to make sure that you um, listen to all of the episodes that Nancy's in and just get a better view of like who this woman is and how she continues to step out and like really encourage other people to do the work that she does for herself in experiences like this in her book, and go and get that, get real, and go through that process truly, finding your own gem. I've done that through on my own with Nancy. I did that through the book study with Nancy, and it just continues to evolve just like my work does on a whole different aspect. So whatever you're doing to step more into who you're becoming. Keep doing that, empower your journey, and choose on purpose.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.